I've got my computer over here, so sorry if I ignore you guys. I'm going to be adding comments as we go. And for viewers, a couple of things is how this works, how the roundtable works is essentially I'm going to ask a question. And we're going to go around starting with Hannah, then Patty, then Melvin's, then Live Slow, and then whoever else wants to join. Let me see if we got anybody else in here. Or if you guys see in the comments that somebody wants to join, like finally, let me know. And so you can also, as a viewer, you can actually tap on everyone's name and you can go give them gifts also. If you'd like to give them a daily heart me or roses or whatever, you can tap on their name and send gifts to them. So that's super cool. So I guess I need a new goal. I didn't know. We don't really need to set goals, but you know, if you want to, it's totally fine. And then questions. So the last thing is questions. So right at the end, we'll do a Q&A. So I will try to keep up with the questions that are asked online, make a list, and then we'll go through them. Oh, who's that cutie?
This is Pepe.
Aw, what a cutie. Best boat dog ever. Hi. Besides our dog. My husband just got mad at me. He's like, besides our dog. So we'll go ahead and get started. And if we see more people, by all means, you guys let me know. Does Jimbo want to be on?
He can.
Because we can take one more row of people, so we'll just add whoever. I don't think it matters.
Oh, she's doing you on your channel.
Oh, but he's echoing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That might not work.
If he goes down in the hole, might be okay. Real quick, Melvin's, how's your passage going?
It's going great. We had very great sailing weather this morning for several hours. Then, of course, it died out. So I had to pull my sails in. I've got 8 knots on the nose at the moment. But this morning I had like we were going about 7.5, 8 knots. It was great sailing conditions. And then now it's kind of died out. But it's okay. So I'm just under motor at the moment. But it's been really good. Yeah, it's been really good.
Awesome. Well, very cool. And then everyone else, we'll go around, introduce yourself. So you're going to say your names and your boat, what type of boat you have and where you are. Okay, so I'll go last. Hannah, you're first.
Hi guys, I'm Hannah. I'm on a Moody 425 and right now we're in Florida.
Patty?
Guys, we're Caddy and the Cat, and right now we're on the Flying Fish, which is our small little flats boat, because we're on land right now. So we're just out at the sandbar, but we're normally on a 30-foot Endeavor Sailcat in the Keys.
Cool. Melvin's?
My name is Tiffany, and we have a Beneteau Oceanus 500, and I'm currently on passage to Grenada.
Super cool. Live Slow?
Star. We're on a 30-foot S2 named Live Slow, and we are in Nassau, Bahamas.
Awesome. And my name is Randy. It's myself, my husband, and my son, Steve and Cody, and then our dog Bella, who many of you have seen before. And we're on a 2002 Fontaine Peugeot Athena. It's a sail cat. And we're based out of Stuart, Florida right now, hoping to head north for the rest of the summer at some point. So we're working on that. So that's where we are. All right, so we're going to get right into the first question. The first question, the theme is safety on the seas. Okay, so the first question is kind of weathering the storm, preparing for hurricane season. So how do you do it? What do you do when a storm is coming in? And some strategies for riding it out or relocating. You know, how do you pick and choose? So what we'll do is we'll try to keep the answer to about a maximum of a minute and a half, so we can keep going around the room. So, Hannah, you're up.
Oh gosh, I don't know if I want to go first for all of these, but
yeah, we can have someone else go first.
Either way, yeah,
Melvin's,
go for it.
Go Melvin's.
Okay. So we're going to Grenada for hurricane season. This is our first time actually being out in the Caribbean during hurricane season. Normally my boat's at like a marina or something in Florida, but we're going to Grenada, which is known as a hurricane hole. A bunch of our other boat buddies are going to be there as well. And then basically, you know, it's right on the outskirts of the hurricane zone. So if we need to kind of skirt out of zone, we can. We had also thought about going to Panama or somewhere like that, since they don't get direct hit hurricanes, but we decided on Grenada because there's a lot of boat kids there and a lot of other boats that we've been meeting along the way were going there. And so we just decided last minute we'll just do that. Some of our friends do the hurricane hole and loop run, which is a little bit different scenario. A lot of them do like where they raft all the boats together and like tie up to the mangroves and like do all that. Thank you, Becky. But our plan is to just stay in Grenada, watch the weather, and then get out of Dodge if we need to.
Who wants to go next? Are you ready?
I can go next. I didn't mean to mess up the order or the rhythm.
Oh, you're fine. It's fine. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, as far as us, like with hurricanes, right now we don't have a working engine. We actually just got confirmation that we're hauling out this week to be able to start putting our new engine in. So ideally, we'd like to get the heck out of the way, but actually last year we had the hurricane come right over top of us, and luckily we were in the water. I prefer to be in the water. It just feels more natural for the boat, and you can adjust windows and adjust lines, and it feels like there's more you can control and do. So that's typically what we're doing right now. But once we have an engine, we'd like to get the heck out.
That's right. And you said you're hauling out this week?
Yeah, Tuesday, finally. We're so excited.
Patty, what about you?
We are, our boat is in the Keys, and this is the first time we're having the boat in the Keys during hurricane season, but we just heard from a very reliable source that Florida doesn't worry about hurricanes this year, so yay. I don't know if that's going to be true or not, but let's cross our fingers and hope so. We have really good insurance, and we don't plan on staying on the boat. If anything happens, we're lucky enough to have a house on land too. This one is safer. If the house is getting hit, we'll go to the boat. If the boat's getting hit, we'll go to the house. So we're kind of lucky there. And in the Keys, we would just go into some mangroves. Our marina actually allows us to stay through hurricanes. Some marinas do not in Florida. So if you're new to boating and you're planning on getting a boat down here and putting it at a marina, make sure you check in advance to see if they allow you to stay through hurricanes. Because a lot of times they require you to have a pre-planned, hurricane plan, basically. Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? So our marina allows us to stay, but we'd probably still go tie up into some hurricane holes somewhere. And is Sailor Sean on today? Because I want to hear about some of those hurricane holes.
Yeah, I don't know. We've been talking. I told them just to check in. I don't see them in the chat yet. But if any other sailors pop in, you guys see them, by all means let me know or put a comment so I can see you guys and I'll add you, because we do have a lot of space left for folks. So, okay.
Okay. Well,
Live slow?
yeah. We've been through a few hurricanes. This is our third year living on a sailboat. We were in Florida for 3 years. We were in Fort Myers Beach during Ian, and I firmly believe in mooring balls. 10 boats made it through Ian, and ours was one, and it was only because it was on a mooring ball. And I know that, 10 out of thousands of boats. So, so while we're in the Caribbean, because we are planning on making it all the way to Puerto Rico this season, even though it's hurricane season. We'll just have to find a mooring ball, and then what we will do is go to land. That's our plan, huh?
I think if anyone's got good tips for Puerto Rico and DR, probably the Melvins for hurricane holes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
People probably think we're crazy. I wouldn't suggest doing what we're doing at all, but we are. So that's our plan.
All right, cool. Well, for us, we have been in Florida. We've had our boat for 5 years, so we've been in Florida all 4 years. And the first year we were in the Keys in the Bahamas, but we have made it through all 5 summers here in Florida. And luckily with our insurance, they're fine with us staying past the Florida-Georgia line, so we've stayed here. We made it through Ian and Nicole barely going north of us. We saw 70 knot winds as well as 50 winds for Nicole. So we just kind of anchored out in a mangrove kind of cove. And Milton, we just stayed in the marina. So we kind of play it by ear as like what storm's coming, where it's going to hit, the strength of it, that sort of thing. But I think for us, the scary thing with Milton were all the tornadoes that came with it. so we weren't really prepared for that part. Luckily, we didn't get hit, but all around us in Martin County saw tons of tornadoes. So that was a scary thing for us. But, you know, we just take the storms as they come, and we probably rather not be in Florida for hurricane season, but right now it's kind of just, you got to do what you got to do. Thank you, guys. And we'll continue to constantly seek for areas outside of the hurricane zone when we're not tied to a dock. So that's for us. Okay, we're going to move on to, I'm putting two questions together here. This is modern day piracy and then country by country caution. Okay, so it's going to be a couple. Thanks, guys, for all the gifts down there. Remember, you guys can send gifts to everybody else, too. So are pirates a threat? What's the regions of concern? How did you stay prepared and informed? And we're going to also roll that into areas you feel the safest versus the most caution. And then tips for local laws. How do you pay attention to navigating the customs and sketchy situations? And also, you know, like, how do you... What do you do to prepare? What do you listen to? What do you read? What do you know, where do you get your information from for staying safe? So who wants to attack the pirates first?
I can.
Cool. Oh, Melvin.
So yeah, we definitely get a lot of questions about pirates on our lives. And I always just tell people it's really not as like common as media makes it out to be. Like, I think a lot of people that aren't out here on the ocean thinks it's happening like every day, a million times a day, every time you turn around, because like media kind of makes it that way. But we just try to avoid the areas that are like more of a concentrated chance. But you can look those things up online. We look a lot of things up on Noonsite, NOONSITE. We talk to other cruisers before we go places. But like the Caribbean is one of those places I feel like people, because I guess Jack Sparrow and the Pirates of the Caribbean makes them feel that way. But we've done a lot of cruising in the Caribbean. We've done like several seasons in the Bahamas, and then we've been out here this whole season. And I know a lot of people have been doing this like 25 years. And I don't personally know anyone who's actually had to deal with a pirate. I know people who have circumnavigated the entire world, never seen a pirate. So while it's definitely something that is true and real and you should take serious, as common as they think. So I always tell people, just ask other cruisers before you go somewhere. Know the safety area of where you're at. And that kind of brings me into like different places that you travel that are safe just in general, not even just piracy. But like I definitely talk to other cruisers. I use No Foreign Land, and I'll ask people that are in the anchorage I'm going to go to later, and I'll be like, hey, how's it going over there? What's the deal? And I mean, cruisers are like a big family. We want to help each other. We want to keep each other safe. So we always tell people if they ask us somewhere that I've been that they haven't, or vice versa, we always like to share information about the safety of places. And one of the places I got the most questions about for some reason was DR. For some reason, a lot of people, I think, feel like DR is unsafe, I guess. I don't know. It's just a common one people ask. And we didn't have any issues there. We were in Lupron for a month and spent some time in some of the other town by car. And I didn't have any issues in Dominican Republic. I felt safe, even if it was nighttime. Like, I didn't have any kind of issues like that. But again, we don't stay out very late. I'm typically back on my boat before night. We don't like drink or go to bars. I'm not out at like 2 a.m. in the back alleys or anything. So I think I avoid a lot of those things by being back at my boat before late. And I feel like the biggest thing that is an issue that we see out here is like petty theft things and theft of the dinghy and the outboard. So a lot of the things that I hear from other cruisers is they warn me before I get somewhere, hey, a lot of people are having problems with their outboard and dinghy being stolen. So we lock that up with a cable and a lock if we feel like we're somewhere that we need to do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Who's next?
I can piggyback off that. I would agree. Like, I think modern day piracy is not super common in the areas that have piracy. I mean, you can easily look that up, and there's a lot of, you can look up like the last date of known piracy in that area, which is super helpful, and just avoiding it and going further off land. Because the further out to sea you are, if you're passing through that area, the less likely for them to come all the way out there. Although I know that they still do sometimes, but it's not common. And a lot of countries that know that there's a certain area with piracy, they try to take care of that, and then it ends up sometimes becoming even more safe after they've had higher rates of piracy. They nip that in the bud, and there's no more of it. And then as far as like safety and feeling, I've done a lot of traveling, and I think no matter where you are, whether you're on a boat or traveling otherwise, even as a female, it's more about just common sense and being aware of your surroundings. Like, as you know, I'm not going to go somewhere that I feel looks sketchy or makes me feel uncomfortable, and going with your gut feeling with that. I'm not going to go out looking for anything that's illegal. I'm not, you're just going to be aware of your surroundings and do what like you're most comfortable with. And with all my travels that I've ever done, I mean, like, sure, there's been situations where I've not been comfortable, but I've never felt like my life is being threatened or anything. And when it gets to that point, I think a lot of times that's wrong place, wrong time. Like you just had bad luck. So that's just my personal experience with it.
Great. Who's next? Like just has to unmute. You just have to unmute. Great. Oh, almost had it.
Yeah. I was trying to unmute. It didn't want me to. It didn't want me to unmute. I think that it's really important to be prepared, and different countries are different on the laws on how they allow you to prepare your boat for that type of situation. I don't think it's very common either. If you consider how many times we hear about it and how many boats are out there, I really don't think it's that common either. But it's nice to be prepared if you can be prepared. It just depends on where you're going and what the laws are and how you can be prepared. So you need to check each individual place to see how you best can prepare for safety. We are currently only cruising around the Keys, but we do plan on going to the Bahamas, which is relatively safe. So as everyone knows, it's not too dangerous there. I guess the biggest problem is traffic dinghies and things like that. So we are not as experienced as the Melvins with sailing the islands. But I was just saying to Mike, I'm like, man, we should totally be sailing down those islands right now. What are we doing? Why aren't we doing that right now?
Come on, Patty, we're waiting on you.
Next year, we're totally doing it. I swear.
We're gonna add Captain Matt in too. Hey, Captain Matt, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good.
Matt.
It is hot. I'm working on the yacht. So as always, we're always working on something in the boats. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. I'll mute here and let her finish.
You're fine. We're just talking pirates. So Star, if you want to jump in, and then I'll go and Captain Matt if you have tips for pirates too. That'd be great.
All right. Do y'all mind if I let my husband?
That's fine.
Can I pass on this question? We're just not really that prepared or very knowledgeable about what to really do as far as pirates. We haven't really thought about it that much, to be honest.
So
I know it sounds crazy, but
I think that goes to show that it's not that common, that you don't have to stress about it unless you're in a specific area.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know about you guys, but do you find like Bahamas versus Florida a difference? Like for us, we felt safer in the Bahamas than we did in Florida sometimes, especially with dinghy theft issues.
Yeah.
So
yeah, actually I do. I mean, we just keep to ourselves. Nobody has messed with us. We haven't had any trouble, nothing at all. And I just really, I know it sounds crazy, but I don't worry too much. And that's just the way we live. So, I mean, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen,
Bear mace.
That's something.
bear mace. That's awesome.
Bear mace.
We'll get to protection.
Bear mace. As far as our dinghy, we need to lock it up, but we don't. But we haven't really been in a circumstance where we needed to lock it up. We haven't really. Can y'all hear me? It's kind of loud.
Yep, we gotcha.
We haven't really been on land long enough to lock it up or anything like that. So
that's great.
Anything
to add?
Stupid and crazy, but
I
were living our life.
I think when we start to think of modern day piracy now, I think there's a shift in what it used to be, where they would come, when you're out sailing, they'd come board you and take over, and rape and pillage, or sorry, I probably shouldn't have said that. But all that, they don't. It's not like that anymore. In reality, there's a lot of times when you're away from your boat, it's moored or it's anchored or something like that. They're coming on board and trying to go through your stuff or something like that. And I've only really seen that personally, kind of I was in Grenada, just outside of Grenada one time, and so I saw a small boat start to come up close to ours, and we were in our dinghy a little bit further away, closer and closer. And of course, as soon as we get there, they take off like that. I mean, they're super fast. And so, and then the other thing is you asked about the Bahamas versus Florida. I totally agree. I feel safer in the Bahamas instead of Florida because there's just, you never know. Now, the only thing I will say is when we're at the Bahamas and we bring in our dinghy and we're sitting on the beach or something like that, you've got all of those people on the beach that are kind of in the outskirts that are just kind of staring and waiting for you to go swimming, so that way they could rummage through your bag and stuff like that. So I always say, if it doesn't feel right, instinctually, if it doesn't feel right and you feel it, then you're probably right. And I always try to avoid that. But back to, I think everybody's pretty much said it. There's so many resources out there, either groups or websites or something like that give you any type of traffic when it comes to piracy, and you just try to avoid those as much as possible.
So for areas of concern, Melvins, do you have advice on the biggest areas of concern? My husband was mentioning that from what he's heard, because we have limited experience too, it's Florida and Bahamas right now. So like the northern coast of South America, those kind of places, and things like your Notice to Mariners and Channel 16 are sometimes good things to listen to because they will be coming out with the travel advisories and that sort of thing. So do you know of places that are hot spots, Melvins, that you've heard?
The ones that I've heard about in recent years would be Venezuela and recently Nicaragua. I've also heard of a couple of situations that have happened off Nicaragua recently, in the Central America area. I get a lot of my info from that Noon site, NOONSITE. A lot of people share their piracy things on there. If they've had any kind of, even theft and any kind of things like that, crimes, they're listed on there. And then of course I do talk to other cruisers. So I know people, like I said, that may have been places I haven't been yet, and I'm not afraid to ask people I don't know. So I'll get on the No Foreign Land, and I'll just go find an anchorage where I'm planning to go, and I'll just pick a random boat and be like, hey, how's it going? Can I ask you some questions? We're planning on going there. And y'all know how the cruising community is. Everybody is basically like a friend or family. We all want to help each other. We all want to be safe. So I've never had any issues if I've reached out to somebody I don't know and they give me tips and tricks and let me know if it's safe, if it's not, what they've heard of. So I really like using the cruising community because those are people that have actually been there and done it, and have talked to other people who have done it. So I really like getting firsthand experience when I can. Obviously sometimes I can't, and I do Google University and YouTube University like the rest of us, but I usually like to get it off of firsthand knowledge, or maybe Noon site or the No Foreign Land app.
Perfect. So the next question we're going to get into is shark encounters. Fact versus fear: are sharks really a danger to us cruisers? And then tips for swimming, diving, fishing safely. What you guys have maybe experienced and have heard. Who wants to go first?
I can go first on that one. That's one. Sharks are not, there's something to be respected. I don't think that there's something to be feared. Obviously, when you're entering the water, you're realizing that you're going to be in water with sharks, whether you see them or not. Most of the time, they want nothing to do with you. They are curious animals, though, and will come up to you, possibly if they're curious, but most of the time if you are looking at them or interacting with them, they don't want anything to do with you. The sketchier situations are in areas that that people will bait them, and that is where you need to be more aware of the sharks in the water. And so if you typically if you're cooking dinner and you throw scraps overboard while you're cooking or anything like that, don't get in the water right after doing that. Give it some time. Or if you're spear fishing always have a buddy with you to keep an eye on any sharks that are coming up for whatever fish you have. I don't have as much experience with that. I scuba dive, and so I have a lot more experience scuba diving. And honestly, when you're with a lot of sharks, they don't typically want anything to do with you. I mean, they're definitely a predator, and we should respect them, but I don't think that they should be something that we fear. More just respect their space and their environment. That's my take on it. I know other people have healthy fears.
I mean, I can speak on that too, because I do like you do, Hannah. I scuba dive. I also fish, and it is not uncommon for them to be curious, and they'll come up to you. But as a matter of fact, I've slapped them on the nose just to get them away, or something like that if they get too close, and then they flee off and everything. But they love action. So if there's a lot of action or something like that, they're going to show up, and they're going to, because they just kind of like, if somebody's fighting or something like that on the street, everybody's going to want to go look, and they're the same way. They're very, very curious about that. But it is not uncommon when I'm wade fishing or something like that all of a sudden I feel that sandpaper rub across my leg because a shark just bumped me or something like that. And it's not, and never have I ever gotten bitten or anything like that. They're just there. They're there no matter what. They're going to be there, and either you acknowledge that they are, or ignorance is bliss, if that makes sense.
Awesome.
So one thing that I agree with both of y'all so far, and one thing you don't want to do is yell or like make a lot of noise or splash or run from them. Actually, you want to confront them. If you're in a situation with this shark and it's coming towards you, the best thing you can do is lower your heart rate as best as you can, because you'll give off like a energy, and they know it just like a dog or any other predator. And face them. If you have your goggles on, look at them. And I don't know if this is answering the question actually, but
Yeah,
anyway,
that's great.
and if they do come up to you, either, depending on if it's coming up aggressively, like you said, like slap it on the nose or whatever, but if it's not being aggressive, direct it away from you, and then as quickly as possible turn back around and look at it again. It's not gonna, that's just from Renee's laughing, and I feel very passionate about this.
I've been watching this lady Ocean and her YouTube videos, and she purposely goes out to swim with sharks. And so I'm like, we were getting ready to go fishing out to Dry Tortugas, and my friend was like, "Oh, there's so many sharks out there." I'm like, "No worries, man. I got this. I've been watching Ocean. I know how to swim the sharks now. I'm good." Lock your elbow. Lock your elbow. That's all you need to know. I have a shark fan bracelet. It's supposed to repel sharks, but I don't actually know if that works yet. And I haven't.
It doesn't work, Patty. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work?
It doesn't work? No. Man.
I was going to talk about it when it was my turn to answer. I'll tell you in a second.
Okay, I'm going to let you talk about it now, because that's all I have to say. So tell me about it.
I was going to say, first of all, I love sharks. I think they're awesome. And we do a lot of the kind of things that all y'all have talked about. Like we scuba dive, we spearfish, we snorkel. I teach my children right when you get in the water, do a 360 first, because if they are around you, you need to be aware that they're around you. And like SV, Live Slow, and some of the others had said, you don't want to put your back to it. You want to look directly at it and act dominant, basically. You're not trying to be aggressive and be too aggressive, but you want to be looking directly at it, keep your eye on it, because they are curious people, curious animals. But yeah, they're not trying to get you. A lot of the times if a bite happens, it's by mistake or for various other reasons. But what I was going to say about the shark bands was I have a friend, and they were about 3 of them, and they were spearfishing, and he had the shark bands on, and he did get bit by a shark on his calf. He did get bit by a shark on his calf while he was wearing it. So he actually put a video up and was like, "Do not buy shark bands. I was wearing it and got bit." So yeah, he did get bit wearing one. I've never tried it personally, but I do know him personally in real life, and he said it did not work.
Do not recommend. That's funny. I think for us, the biggest thing for us was when we were spearfishing in the Bahamas was basically just making sure the fish we did get was out of the water. So it's not sending off those currents. And like you said, that the shark can feel something's different in the water. So we'd immediately get it out of the water. Usually the dinghy was close by, so we'd put it in the bucket or cooler in the dinghy and get that blood, stuff and fish with the electric currents out of the water. So that was a big thing for us. And then also, it's big in the Bahamas. The Keys, not so much, but a lot of the marinas will, take care of the fish that they catch right there in the marina, toss it in the marina, and then you've got tons of, mostly we saw nurse sharks. So obviously, like marinas are probably not the place you want to be swimming if they're doing that all the time. And then, just like others have mentioned, don't clean the fish off your boat and then go swimming, or don't clean the fish off your boat at all if you can avoid it. Like do it out away from the boat in the dinghy or something. But that's not always possible. So stay away from the stuff that goes in. Okay, did I get everybody in the sharks? I think we did, right? Got everybody in the sharks. Okay. Next question is, we're gonna smush two together here. And for those of you that are watching too, if you have any questions and you want to drop them in the chat, I'm copying and pasting as we go. So if you want to ask your questions now, we won't answer them till the end, but around 3 o'clock, we'll try to get to Q&A here. So life-saving gear on board / medical emergencies at sea. So we're going to be talking about, what safety equipment do you have? What do you do in a medical emergency? Like what's in your medical kits? And then also, what would you do? Like, do you have self-insurance? What do you do if you're sailing to Grenada and you need airlifted, or what's your plan? So safety. Who would like to go first?
I can.
I'm picking you.
I'm sorry. Did you say me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I was a life safety and fire protection engineer for most of my life. So I probably overkill when it comes to this more than anything. And but so I keep a full nurses style first aid kit with every bandage, everything, because that's the whole thing is, a lot of people don't realize, you guys obviously do, but a lot of people don't realize when you're on a boat, it's not like if you don't have it, you can go to the corner store and pick up an ace bandage or pick up something like that. So you have to think about every scenario and pack more than you think you need, even if you don't use it. So I have, my boat is a 35-foot by 14-foot Gemini, and I have 3 different first aid kits in 3 different locations on my boat. Now, again, I'm overkill, So, but now to answer your question about insurance, every insurance provider can provide you some sort of travel option for cruisers. Some are very expensive, some are not. Because I'm a singer-songwriter, I get my insurance through my label, and so it's a separate policy for when you're on tour or when you're traveling, and so that's how I get mine. And yes, that they do offer airlifting and any type of things like that, but also get a Boat US insurance plan or a CETO plan. Always get that, no matter what. Because that's the worst thing in the world to be, is out in the middle of the ocean and not be able to go anywhere because the wind's not pushing you, or it's going in the wrong direction and your engine conks out on you and you're just stuck. It's the most miserable thing in the whole wide world.
Thank you. Who's next?
Okay.
Bella.
We just have the basic, kit, like Matt was saying. We have all kinds of bandages. We have the triple antibiotic, and we have hydrogen peroxide, all of that good stuff. What we don't have is insurance in the Bahamas or anything like that. So if anything happens, we're just gonna have to, I don't know what we'll do, honestly. So I guess maybe maybe I should just shut up and listen.
Fine. It's good to know. It's great to get all perspectives, you know. So it's cool. That's totally fine.
Yeah, I think I'll listen. Bye.
I think
Anyone else?
Captain Matt was right on. Like, make sure you have, like, we have CETO, we also have insurance, and we have health insurance as well. But we haven't really been in this situation. I think the Melvins could probably speak to this better than we could, because we've only been, we've been within an island of American hospital care. So I think it's a little different when you go a little bit beyond and what you have to think about and what your big concerns are. So we've always been within a boat ride of American hospital care. So that's as far as I can speak. We have both U.S., we have, of course, EPIRB, and we have a first aid kit. And we have a really strong bottle of tequila.
Oh,
But it gets really hurt. But
Hannah or Tiffany?
Yeah, I can go. So we basically have what everybody else said, a very good, well-stocked medical kit. So I have a lot of things more and beyond what like your normal household would have. So like I have stuff where I can numb things and stitch things and antibiotics and like way above like just your average like Band-Aids and bandages and stuff like that. So I do have a very good medical kit on board. We do just self-pay as we go when we're in different places. A lot of the places out here are a lot cheaper than the U.S. anyways, and it's not as big of a deal to pay out of pocket for things. I did used to have Christian Healthcare Ministry, which is a bill sharing program. But honestly, over the years, I got priced out on it. It used to be like $400 a month for my family, and by the time I got off of it, it was like $850 a month. So it just got very expensive. So now I just pay as I go where I am. But yeah, I do have a pretty extensive medical kit on board in case things happen, because we have been to like remote islands in the Bahamas and remote places. But one thing I try to tell people too is, like for instance in the Bahamas, they do have clinics. It's just Nassau is the only place in the Bahamas that's going to have a hospital. So it's really going to be no different than anybody else that lives on any of that southern or outskirt islands of the Bahamas. They're all having to be either boated, but most of the time flown by like helicopter or something over to Nassau, because even somebody on those outer islands, there's no hospital for them. They just have a clinic that's going to have your basic needs, but if it was something serious, they're going to have to flight you over to Nassau anyway, because that's like their only hospital. But yeah, so that's how we deal with that. And I do have a lot of extra medical stuff on board than your average person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say same as everybody else. We have a super extensive medical kit. I lucky my dad's a doctor, so he has stocked up our med kit beyond what we should ever be using probably. But a med kit is only as good as the knowledge to be able to use it. So that's really key. So everything in our med kit has directions on how to use it. Because I personally, I'm an emergency first responder. I'm a wilderness first responder. I'm a rescue diver. Like I can do all of that. But if I was the one to get hurt, like somebody else needs to be able to use that med kit. So there's directions and information on how to use and what every single thing in there is used for. Obviously, if it's an extreme case, maybe I don't want someone that doesn't know what they're doing. But on top of that, we don't have health insurance. I do have Dan insurance for diver insurance, and they will airlift you out for a dive emergency, or anyone that dives with me can also use my insurance if something were to happen to them while they're with me. But as far as health insurance, like Tiffany was saying, when you get to the islands and anywhere outside of the United States, it's definitely a lot cheaper to just pay out of pocket. Even in the United States, I don't have health insurance right now because it was more expensive for me to pay for my health insurance than for anything I pay out of pocket. But that's a whole different topic, and I won't go down that route. We definitely have CETO. We out of pocket's cheaper, and then just making sure that you have everything that you could possibly need. I do personally believe that like at least one person, if not more than one person on whatever boat you're on, should have some sort of first responder experience or information to be able to help. And a wilderness first responder is definitely like the best choice, because you're trained to be able to take care of someone outside of medical reach. So that's really important. I used to work for a camp in the Caribbean, and we had a lot of incidents. Most of our incidents were like staph infection, which when you have 14 people on board is not ideal because it spreads fast. But I mean, I would have to, like, we had people with dislocated shoulders. I had one guy get hit in the head with a hatch and split his face open. So just being able to act under pressure and in an emergency situation to calm someone down and have that training is really important, because you can have the med kit, but if you can't act on it, then the med kit's not going to do a whole lot.
At the very least, maybe like some CPR first aid classes, right, would be good. And do you guys know of any that are cruiser related? Have you seen any classes out there that are cruiser related?
I've not.
Yeah.
I don't think I have, but I mean, in reality, it's when you're thinking about CPR and first aid, that's universal no matter where you are. So I mean, but I haven't seen anything cruise related. But I did want to add one other thing. There's a minimum amount of fire extinguishers you have to have in your boat, and it's minimum. You need more, because a fire starts in your boat, you have no idea how fast it can take off. And so I always, and then I anybody who is on board with me, that's the first thing I talk about is the extinguishers here, and I point them all out, and I let everybody know, because that is not a good day if you have a fire on a boat.
So, Finally, I always want to say their name wrong, but Finally is putting in the chat that they're actually creating a cruiser, looks like CPR class. They're presenting at the Annapolis Boat Show. Like, how cool is that? So be sure, if you're not already following them, that you follow them. And that was our goal, is to maybe get up to Annapolis, so maybe we can go see them. That is super cool.
Closest thing to like a cruising certification for medical emergencies would be like a wilderness. It's meant more out for like in the woods, but I feel like a lot of it translates to just being out of reach from any medical facility.
Good point.
Yeah, we do the diver insurance as well. We've got the Towboat US, medical kit, like all of the above too. And then I think another layer to that too, you know, not only protection of a person, but protection of the boat. So, you know, we've heard a lot of us talk about EPIRB and we have PLBs, and these are beacons that will send out your location should anything happen. One of them usually sticks with the boat, the EPIRB, and when the water, it's usually water activated, and that'll send, if I'm saying this correctly, you know, send your location out to U.S. Coast Guard. Same with a personal locator beacon. When we wear our life jacket, that goes on in case someone were to go overboard, we can find their location. So certain things like that. We also have a small medical emergency kit in our ditch kit. So do you guys want to touch real quick on if you have a ditch kit and what you put in it?
In my ditch kit, I have a bunch of flashlights. Sorry, I have a bunch of flashlights. I have solar battery things, so that way you can recharge stuff. Bug spray. These are the things that you just don't think about. Bug spray. Obviously, tons of sunblock. And then of course I've got my EPIRB in there, and because that a lot of people don't understand how important that is, but it's definitely, when you need it, you know. So I've got that, and it's right at the access where I can just grab and go pretty quickly to get off the boat.
Yeah. And for those of you that are watching that don't know what a ditch kit is, most of the time it is a bag, like a waterproof bag full of emergency equipment you're going to need should you have to leave the boat immediately. So for us, that would be like our ditch kit, and then our life raft if our dinghy wasn't able to be used, or we just jump in the dinghy with our ditch kit also. And, you know, so another thing could be like a backup VHF, radio. I know we put snacks and bottled water in ours. It would just kind of essentially be, if we didn't have a life raft, because the life raft usually comes with all that. You've got a light, you've got snacks, you've got all the water. So if we didn't have that, that's our ditch kit to take with us. It already has that packed in there. So.
Oh, and the other one that's really crazy is I have a mirror. There was like, why do you need a mirror? It reflects. It reflects. So.
Again, things you might learn in wilderness first aid, you know, like how to track down people looking for you. So Anybody else on that, or we can move on to the next
I
one?
love Captain Matt's ideas. We actually don't have a ditch bag. We have like this box full of like batteries and lights and things like that. But I love the idea of like mosquito spray and waters. That's a great idea. See, it's not just TikTok teach us on here.
Yeah.
Thanks, Captain Matt. Great idea
too. I love it. Anyone else?
Something to add. Everything that y'all have said, we have that, but I do have a story. When we were crossing the Okeechobee, we ran aground, and right at that moment, we also started getting a leak. That wasn't from running aground, but I thought that we got a hole in the boat. At this point, we did not have a ditch bag. So I had to scramble around and make one, even though we weren't sinking. I freaked out. So we do have one now, but I don't have anything to add to the. Yeah, a mirror. That's a great idea. Other than that, no.
So I was just going to say ditto. We have a lot of those basic same things, but I did grab this a second ago just because people on here don't know what an EPIRB is. I'm going to show them what one was. This is our EPIRB. I technically have 3 of these, 2 of them that are currently on and registered. One I just have, it's kind of older, I don't use it, but I do have 2 different ones. Basically, you register all your crew members, your boat, what color your boat is, what your boat's called, all the crew member on your boat, all of that. It also has emergency contacts to my family members and all that. You send that paperwork in so that when this beacon goes off, they know who it is attached to. It sends your GPS coordinates to Coast Guard, to, people that can come rescue you with a helicopter, whatever they need to do, boat. There is a tester button here where it says T, so you can push the tester button, make sure it lights up, all those things. The actual emergency button is covered up by a little plastic thing here, so you would open that up to push it. It would immediately send my GPS coordinates to get us help. So this is what Matt was talking about one of the most important safety things we have is this EPIRB, and it's going to send out exact GPS coordinates of where you are, and this is how you're going to get help. So yeah, I just wanted to share that really quick. But yeah, ditto on all the other things. I was just going to share that really quickly and kind of explain it.
Finally said something really good. Your passports. I keep my passports in my ditch bag too.
Passports, and sometimes we'll do like a little stack of cash in a plastic bag or something. So you've got your passports, your cash, important phone numbers in case a phone, were to go down. You still have phone numbers that you can call while you're on shore, that sort of thing. And then just real quick, somebody also had asked about jellyfish. So we talked about sharks, but what do you guys do for jellyfish issues?
I can't talk about what I do on TikTok.
I think I know.
Let's not talk about like medically.
Like a raft that's supposed to keep them out. I don't know if it actually works or not. So it's a raft and it has like this area that you sit in the middle and it's supposed to keep jellyfish out. But I couldn't say, it's called a water hammock. I couldn't say for sure if it works yet or not because we haven't been in a really bad area.
You got to try all these things. Your shark anklet, you got to try your jellyfish thing. You got a lot of things to try.
I would say I see so many boats that have like the underglow on their boat, and that attracts jellyfish. So if you plan on getting in the water, I just wouldn't have any lights on your boat prior to getting in.
Good tip. Yeah, we keep kind of like a sting relief for jellyfish stings. We've had to do that before, so that's just in the med kit.
Epsom salt after the event, soaking in Epsom salt does actually help. But to neutralize the pain, there's nothing better than your personal, if you know is all I'm going to say.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the next question. We're going to kind of mush them together again. So this is kind of trusting the area you're in, trusting the anchorage, trusting the dinghy dock. Are you worried about leaving the boat unattended? Do you lock it? What about securing your valuables? You don't have to get too far in depth. We don't want people to be like, oh, I know where they keep their jewelry now. But don't get too in depth. And then also, I don't have that much jewelry on the boat, but still. So self-defense at sea, we're going to try to avoid, certain keywords, hint, that might get us kicked off of here, or types of a talk like that. But we still kind of want to know, and if you don't want to pass them this question, it's totally fine. but or if you want to tell us, that's fine too. Do you carry anything for protection? Do you feel like you wouldn't need it in certain places? How do you get it into other countries? And then this situational awareness and nonviolent deterrence, if you have that. And someone had asked a question with that also. Do any islands prevent you from having that sort of weapon on your boat docked at ports? So, let's see. Most experienced, most out of Tiffany. Do you want to start with this one?
Yes. So I have a lot of things like Bear pepper spray that shoots really far. We have motion detector lights on the back of our boat if someone were to come on the back. We do have a motion detector alarm thing we can put on there. I haven't been anywhere where I felt like I needed it, but it's like the driveway alarm. It's very simple. You put batteries in it. I put one in my cabin and one back here by the back of my boat. I haven't really been anywhere where I felt like I needed to do that. But if I was somewhere where I was hearing issues, I could definitely put that on. And then I do have I don't know if I can say this, MACHETE. We do have that on the board. And then as far as the main thing that everybody's talking about, the deal with that is when you check into Customs and Immigration, they typically take it and your AMMO as well, and they keep it, and then they won't give it back to you till you leave. So you're not going to have it when you're at an anchorage most of the time. You will have it on passage, though, I guess, which would be like the time that people would want to use it, I guess, against a piracy situation. And then also, it is illegal in some areas, some countries, to have it, period. So it's important to know and do your own research before where you're going to travel to, because they're going to say it's up to you, and saying I didn't know isn't going to fly, because they're going to say it's your responsibility to know that before you go there. So I always tell people it's very important before you travel places to research where you're traveling. If you're going to carry something like that with you, it's fine if you choose to. It's just you need to know the rules and the laws of where you're going, because you can definitely get in huge trouble if you go to a country that it's illegal to have one. And they're not going to take the I didn't know as an excuse. So I always tell people just be very careful about that. And then, yeah, I guess that's the main thing.
Yeah, Seychelles is a very common place that you cannot bring, and I've seen people get arrested and be in jail for a very, very long time.
Yeah, and they won't take the I didn't know. They don't care about that.
Exactly.
I think I'll pass on this one.
Sorry.
What's the question?
Hey, Patty.
We have on our boat, we have cameras, we have, don't ever trust your anchor. We have anchor alarms. Go watch our video. Don't trust your anchor. Now we have backup anchor alarms. So very important. That is a really important thing to have. Oh man, Melvin, thanks for that advice, by the way.
Some of these alarms are going off.
I had to move down here because it started sprinkling. I didn't want to get rained on, so I hope my motor's not too loud.
Oh, can't hear a
Is
thing.
my motor too loud?
No.
Do I need to move away from the motor? Okay. Yeah, so we have cameras, we have water sensors, we have double float switches, we have motion sensor lights too. Those are all great things to have. We have self-defense as well, pew, 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 for any of those pirate situations. But we have not researched other countries and how hard it's going to be and what they're going to do. So it's good to know that they'll just take it and then give it back to you. But we would also do some intense researching before we left, because we don't obviously want to break any laws while we're underway anywhere. So we want to be compliant everywhere we go. But that's what we have.
Hannah? Anything?
Yeah, we have a bat that has like a metal thing on the end. We don't have any GUNs on board, just because the difficulty around it, and that's an aspect of that. But we do have our dog as like our number one system on this boat. If we haven't, he's not been out sailing really yet, but he has always guarded our car, our house, everything. We actually have to have like signs up around the boat that say "Do not pet," "Do not reach like over." So he would probably be our first deterrent for anyone boarding, especially if we left the boat with him on it at all. As far as our dinghy and our outboard, whenever we dock it, we do lock it up, just to feel more comfortable with that. We lock our boat every time we leave. We don't have a whole lot of value, like my work computer is probably the most valuable thing on the boat. And other than that, like we've left things at my parents' house that seem more valuable, because if it's on the boat, like if anything were to happen, like I don't want things that are valuable to me or heirlooms or anything like that on this boat, even though everything else we own is on here. Anything that's like super valuable, we've left at my parents. So yeah, we do also have bear spray. That's a huge one. And like flares. And yeah, I think we also have an MACH ETE. I don't know if you can say that. But that's also good for coconuts.
Yeah. Yeah, we have the same. We've got like the Ring camera set up with Starlink that makes it super easy to have the Ring cameras on at all times. Before we had that, we were cruising Bahamas and Keys. We felt safe enough to leave the boat unlocked. If we went into town, we usually would have some sort of friend or boat person we would talk to in the anchorage, so they would always kind of help keep an eye out just in case. Nothing ever really happened though. We do have personal protection, the pew-pews as well, and Bahamas was relatively easy. You know, we alerted them to yes when we checked in. On your form, you do have to say yes, we do have something. Here's the ammo, and then when we checked out, same thing. They made sure we had it and counted all the ammo. So AMMO, whatever. So it's been fairly easy for us, but again, we've only been a couple places, and again, we have a very loud dog too. So I feel like she would be our very first alarm system there. So yes. All right, let's see here. So I think we've covered all the questions, and unless you guys had something else you wanted to add in for that, but
I was going to say one quick thing, Randy Joe. Sailing Comfortably Numb mentioned a spear gun. I was just going to say that actually some places you can't even have spear guns at, so be careful about that as well. There are some places that don't allow spear guns, Bahamas being one of them. You're actually not supposed to have a triggered spear gun in the Bahamas. I think a lot of people don't know that. You can spear fish, but you're not supposed to have the trigger kind. I just said G like 5 times, sorry.
Oh, no, that's perfect.
I just realized.
That's
Anyways,
okay.
but yeah, they will take them away in some countries. Like if you had it on board and you're not supposed to, they'll take it from you. Just a word of knowledge about that.
But can you can also like disassemble it too, right? If it's on your vessel.
I've heard it kind of is up to the people that are on the boat is what I've heard. Like if they're nice, they might let you do that. But I've also heard from people that personally had the experience that they took it from them. So I think it kind of depends on what the person decides that gets on your boat is what I've heard. I have never actually had this happen to me, but I just know other people that I personally know that has had these kind of things happen. So I just wanted to mention it.
Yeah.
And I'll just interject real quick and say there's a lot of things on your boat that you can use for self-defense that you don't even know. And if you just kind of take awareness of what you have around you, I mean, actually, Emily just talked about it a little bit when she was talking about, you know, something that you can chop coconuts off that you keep on your boat. That's a definitely great weapon, or anything like that. So, or your flare pew pew, or, you know, believe it or not, my this is a really, really good weapon if I ever need to hit somebody with it.
Water bottles. Yeah, totally. So we're getting close to the question and answer portion. So if our viewers do have any questions and you want to drop them in the chat, by all means, go ahead. I do have one from Nikki earlier. She was saying concerning a hurricane hole, what is that? So does somebody want to describe, maybe you've been in one, I know Melvin's have too, but a hurricane hole, what are you looking for? What is it?
So the most popular, go ahead, Matt.
Well, I would say for me, the most common hurricane hole that I look for is, number one, obviously, is it on the right side, you know, to make sure that the wind is coming. So and then very, very good solid anchoring ability where you can anchor and far enough away from the land that you're not going to seek that damage that may be coming from the land and going into the water. I think that's probably the 3 most common things I look for.
So the reason why a lot of people like the one in Luperon that we've stayed at for like a month is because there's huge mountains that's literally encirculating the entire thing that is going to block a lot of the wind. And that is obviously one of the biggest things you're trying to block is wind. and waves. But the very tall mountains pretty much encirculate the entire anchorage there in the loop we're on. There's also a mooring field, so actually there you'd have to do mooring. They have a very muddy bottom there. Have you been there, Matt? They have a very muddy bottom, and so like when we were there, we ended up having to pay for a $60 a month mooring ball, which isn't bad. But I'm always hesitant about mooring balls sometimes. But SV Live Slow said she had good experience with that during a hurricane. But I've heard this past season about 5 different people where it wasn't even bad conditions and it broke off while they were not there and they floated off. So I think, in my opinion, the mooring ball thing is only as good as who is inspecting it, because sometimes they put them mooring balls out there and just been there for like 20 years and ain't nobody looked at it. So you definitely, which SV Live Slow may have done this, but you definitely want to make sure the mooring ball you're getting on, you're inspecting it, dive down on it yourself, make sure, because sometimes they put them things out there years ago and nobody's looked at them. So I've heard of 5 incidences, not in a hurricane or just a little bit of rain, and they broke off because nobody had inspected them. So if you are going to do the mooring ball thing, I would definitely suggest just making sure you use your own eyes and dive down on it, check it, make sure there's nothing frayed or nothing that's like gonna snap, basically.
I agree with that. And I should have been more like, basically we made it through Adalia on an anchor too. What I really should have said was I would rather be on a mooring or an anchor than in a slip, because all of the boats in Fort Myers Beach that were on a slip, yeah, that was over. So I'd rather be in the ocean than on a slip, really, is what I'm saying. But thank you for, yeah.
I was gonna say also with that, I might have missed you saying it, but making like the other people that are on a mooring ball or even on anchor, like I don't trust anyone else's ability to moor up or anchor properly. And so that puts you vulnerable. If they were to break loose or drag anchor into your boat, then your anchor or mooring ball is holding more than one boat's worth. And most of the time it can't do that. So always being like on board if you can during a storm to be able to handle those situations and be ready to turn your engines on, which is why we have like being on the dock for right now because we don't have an engine as a line of defense. Sorry, that was all.
So I think I'm just scrolling through questions here. So for us with the hurricane hole, I was going to show you. So it's a horrible drawing. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm doing this for mostly the chat, but this is all a cove that we were in, and our boat had come through the channel markers here. We anchored here in the middle while the hurricane winds were coming around. So literally the entire area was mangroves are the best. So if you can find somewhere to anchor inside these mangroves, that's where we were, and we barely got any effects. We took also everything down that could catch wind. The sails were wrapped tight. Our bimini was off. We have a soft cover bimini, but we were in here watching movies during a hurricane. So the hurricane holes, whether they're mountains, whether it's the mangroves, something that's going to block that direction of the wind. And the wind was literally coming out around us from all angles, but not through that angle that we brought our boat in. So it was perfect for us. So that's a good example of how that works. Okay, so we did have, we've got just a few more minutes. If you guys do have to head out, it's totally fine. Our guests, if you have to head out. We did have a question, and we did not go over this today. We have in the lives past, but we do have some newer people in here. So we'll go ahead and go through it again. The question is, how did you guys get into boating? And that's basically the question, but how did you get into this lifestyle? Hannah, do you want to go first?
Sure. I grew up sailing little sunfish, just in the river and in the lakes. But aside from that, I also used to teach scuba diving off of sailboats, charter sailboats in the Caribbean for a couple years. And so that's kind of what started my want. And I love traveling. I grew up traveling. I was very privileged in that manner. So I knew that I wanted to continue to travel. And then when COVID hit and we were even more restricted, I was working full time and I was in grad school full time, and I just completely burned out and looked at my husband and was like, we've got to make this. This is something we had been thinking about and planning for, and I was like, we've got to do this now. I cannot continue to live a life that like I'm not enjoying and I'm not getting. Like I'm still working full time, but now I'm at least doing it in places that I can enjoy and following a dream that we wanted. So I guess I got into it by teaching scuba diving and living in the Caribbean and being around some boats and not like that living. I knew how to live on a boat, which helped, but yeah, that's my love for travel is kind of what brought us here.
Patty, you're up.
So Mike grew up in the Florida Keys, sailing the islands with his mom and his dad, and so he had a lot of knowledge. I had zero, and I get seasick. So it's been a learning experience for me. I finally kicked the seasickness this year. At least we think we've got it under control, which is amazing. So I wouldn't be doing this without him. It's a lot. You have to know so much to be safe, I think. You know, a lot of people, it looks like they just like cash in their 401k and they just do this, but I don't think that's how that happens at all. There's a huge learning curve that goes around, especially with sailing. There's a lot to know. Motoring's a little different, but yeah. So he's been doing this since he was a kid, and for me, it's something new. I'm really enjoying it. This was our first year, kind of living on the boat part time. Kind of easing into it to see if we want to do this full time. So we didn't jump in with both feet like a lot of people. They sell their houses, they move off land, and they just go for it. And we didn't do that. We kind of tiptoed in because of the seasickness. But I don't know. We actually just discussed today how nice it would be to have a boat big enough to live on full time, because we're on a 30-foot Endeavor Sailcat right now, which is pretty small. So we can only do it part time.
That's kind of your husband to let you tiptoe into it. My poor husband, I took him offshore within the first time getting on this boat for 2 weeks, and he was just sick as a dog the whole first week. But he had. I do now, thankfully.
That's awesome. Melvin's?
My husband started sailing when he was like 7 years old on little sunfish and things like Hannah was mentioning. So he kind of grew up doing the boating stuff. We've been together 15 years. He introduced me to sailing 15 years ago. We've owned multiple large monohulls together. Over the years, we've had a Hunter 35, a Coronado 45. We've had this Beneteau 50. So we've had several. And then we did a lot of coastal cruising in the Keys and things like that in the beginning. And then our first going farther and going to the Bahamas started in 2018. And then in 2019, we did more Bahamas, but we were part-time back then. And now I'm full-time on this boat since December. And basically, my husband got me into sailing.
Awesome, Star.
So when my youngest son graduated from high school, I was like, what am I going to do now? And my brother already had a sailboat in Fort Myers Beach, and he asked me if I wanted to come down and chill and check out what it's like to live in Florida on a sailboat, and I did that. I ended up meeting a guy, which is now my husband, and this was his dream, actually. And I just fell in love with it after the fact. So we made it through Ian together, and we just bonded, and it was, here I am. I'm still here. So I love it.
It's the greatest lifestyle there is.
Yeah, he said it's the greatest lifestyle there is.
Yeah, I agree. Captain Matt?
So I served in the Navy, so that's how I got the salt in my veins. Going around the world and doing all that. And then after that, I grew up in a very small town in Northeast Texas, which was landlocked.
Me too. I'm from Marshall, Texas.
Okay, so I'm from Canton. I'm sure you know exactly where that is. So, but
Where?
Canton, Texas. Canton, Texas.
Okay. Yeah. I lived in Brownsboro before.
That's crazy. So, small world, right?
Yeah.
So anyhow, but I was landlocked, and I just did not want to do that. So, at the time I was married, and my wife was she grew up on the south coast of Louisiana, and so we moved to Jacksonville where we could get back to the ocean, and then eventually back to Houston where we raised our kids. And the whole time I've had some sort of boat, either it's a bay boat or center console or even little cuddy cabins and stuff like that. So I didn't get into sailing until much later when I started performing and when I started doing shows and singing. And so now like I said, my boat is my tour bus. And so I use my catamaran to go from place to place so I can do my shows all up and down the Gulf Coast. So.
That's very cool.
I'll be darned.
Well, for us, we had just gotten back from the Virgin Islands for a friend's wedding, flying. This was back in 2020, January of 2020. And as soon as we got home in February, it was like COVID shutdown, lockdown. So we were stuck in our house. We had to stop our jobs. We had to, Cody, our son, couldn't go to school. And he was about 13 at the time, 13, 14. So we started doing some research on if we could afford this lifestyle. If we could afford this lifestyle, is it just for rich people? But it worked into our budget. And then because my husband's a veteran, and thank you for your service, Captain Matt. My husband's a veteran, and he was able to get the GI Bill to help pay for his captain's courses out here. And while he was going to class, we looked around for a boat and found this awesome catamaran. And that's what moved us out here. Was if it wasn't for COVID, we probably wouldn't be out here. So that's the one thing I'm thankful for that time. That's how we got started, and then just took some ASA, American Sailing Association classes, and like I said, now he's a captain, so he's got that experience, and just get more miles under our belt. That's what makes it all worth it. So, let me see here if we got any more questions. We do have a lot of people that have said thank you. This has been fascinating. They appreciate all of you being here. So. Thanks again to all of our viewers for being here. And if anybody just jumped in towards the end and missed it, this is recorded. And then what I'll do is I'll upload it to YouTube later under Destination Adrift. That's our YouTube channel, and you can come see it there. And I try to share, the recording is a rather large file, so it's hard to share it. But at some point, we'll try to get it out to each other. Captain Matt, do you have any live concerts coming up anytime soon?
Yeah, so I keep all of my schedule on my website, CaptainMattMusic.com. We're doing a lot of local stuff here in the Texas area right now because my album is being released on September 20th, and then that's when we'll start going back and doing a bunch of coastal events and stuff like that. But the album is pretty much from Freeport, Texas. This is where I keep my yacht, and all the way to Freeport, Bahamas. So we're just going to be all over the place. It's going to be a lot of fun.
We had a question from Nikki. What genre, Captain Matt?
I'm a tropical rock Texas country guy.
I approve. He's got good music.
Randy loves my song "Sail Away." I think that's her. She said that's her life motto.
Soundtrack to my life. Yes. If you guys haven't heard it, go listen for sure. We had another question from Pineapple that says, "How often do we get together?" We do the Sailors Roundtable once a month. This is our third one. Our fourth one will be I was going to say April. August already, and I think we're looking at the 4th. Does that sound right, you guys? I don't even know what today is. So I think it's like August 4th, and we are going to be talking about sustainability, living with nature, being eco-friendly while living on a boat. So that'll be our next discussion in August, and hopefully we'll have just as many, if not more, sailors come and join us for that too. If you haven't followed these folks, please click on their name, go follow them, and a lot of you raise your hand if you go live. Raise your hand if you go live. Do you go live on your own? Stars? Not really.
I've tried it. Not really.
You're doing a great job.
How to do it. I'm very awkward about it.
So am I. You can do it.
Actually.
Hey, awkward sells on TikTok. So you might as well just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're doing great right now.
I'm a musician too. I would love to keep.
Yeah. Hey, send me a message. I followed you. Send me a message. We'll talk. Maybe we can collab.
Yeah. And I go live all the time. Send me any questions you guys might have. It looks like August the 3rd. Does that look right, Stephanie? Stephanie, let me know. Or Samantha, sorry. Samantha, let me know that is not a Sunday. So it looks like August the 3rd. But the information will be out there. We'll be sharing and everything like that. So thank you guys so much for being here. And thanks, Samantha. And be sure to, again, follow all of our sailors. And we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
everybody.
thanks so much. Fair winds. Follow
Fair winds. Bye.
Bye.